Have you ever wondered what it would be like to switch careers after 26 years in one industry? Well, Diane did, and she did it beautifully. Within her first year of grant writing, she made $50K in revenue and now has 3 retainer clients that fill her soul. In this spotlight, we talk about how finding a partner in the collective made the entrepreneurial journey that much less lonely and that much more fun, knowing that she wasn't navigating this journey alone. We also dive into the incredible work that they're doing for a music school for the blind and so much more. Meet Diane. Diane, I am so excited to be a part of your story today. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
I am so glad to talk to you.
Thinking back to your life pre-grant writing, what drew you to seek out community and grant writing support?
I was at a crossroads in my career. I was an editor at Parents Magazine, and I was lucky enough to get severance and have some time to think about what I wanted to do next. I found the collective, and I just had an instinct that it was the right place to be. And having been part of a team for my entire career, the community aspect of the collective was really appealing to me. And I like the fact that people came from all different backgrounds.
When you were thinking about all of the different options to you, I think it's quite brilliant that you were like, this is an opportunity to actually shift, because you could have gone and gotten an editor job probably at a different magazine. What made you want to pivot and kind of reinvent yourself at that point?
The truth is that the magazine industry is shrinking. And so everybody who I've worked with over the years was pivoting in different ways. And yet I didn't really want to go create content or do something in social media. And I had spent a lot of my time at the magazine covering nonprofits that were helping children and families. And I was covering health and education and special needs and a lot of the topics that I'm working in now as a grant writer. I also wanted something that was flexible. I write fiction in the wee hours of the morning. And so I have been trying to make that happen for myself for a while. And that's been a separate journey. But I wanted to have the flexibility so that if that happened, that I wasn't locked into a 9-to-5 job anymore.
A unicorn brought this term to us, and I'm not going to remember who brought it, but multi-potentialite, which is the characteristic of most of the unicorns. We're just interested in so many different aspects. So I love picturing you waking up early and writing these novels. Will you just tell us a little bit about what genre or who you're talking to?
I write middle grade fiction, which is 8 to 12-year-olds. So it's sort of your classic Charlotte's Web, first Harry Potter type novel. It's been a long up and down journey. And the book that I am working on now is about a girl whose parents are blind. And one of my clients is a music school for the blind. And so everything has kind of come together. I like connecting the dots.
What I love about fiction, now we're totally going off topic, is that it is really powerful because it can share the stories of others in this very relatable way.
In fiction, they talk about windows and mirrors, particularly in children's books, that they provide a mirror for people who want to have their life reflected in the pages of a book for the first time, perhaps, and then windows so that you can see what someone else's life is like who's different than you and empathize. So it's been a really great challenge.
When you first joined the collective, what was your definition of success?
I wanted to learn a new set of skills that were going to be rewarding, that would hopefully help me earn enough money to contribute to my family. I think when I left my long-term job, I didn't think I was ever going to make that much money again. I've now learned that that is not going to be true. I didn't know if I was cut out to be an entrepreneur because I'd been part of groups for so long. And I said, let me give it a year and see how it feels. So I was going to play it by ear, and it's worked out really well.
I want to go back to some challenging moments because it wasn't all butterflies and rainbows. In fact, I think I remember some conversations 3 to 6 months in where you were pretty frustrated. Take us back to a challenging moment. What happened? What did it feel like?
Doing informational interviews, it was going really well. And I had one interview where we had a lovely conversation. And then afterwards, I sent a follow-up email and I talked about what a funding strategy was. He wanted to see a draft contract, and he responded in a really nasty way. And he said, this is really a bait and switch. You pretended you were just interested in finding out about what I was doing, and here you are trying to be a salesperson. You should be ashamed of yourself. And I was spooked by that. I posted about it on the community, and everyone was so kind and responsive and said that's really unusual and must be his problem. And I sort of gathered my thoughts. And the biggest decision that I made after that was that I stopped calling it a draft contract and started calling it a draft proposal, which I thought felt much less aggressive. I was offering you something, and if you wanted it, you could take it, and I wasn't sort of asking you to sign on a dotted line right now. And I just shifted the tone of my interaction in a way that made it easier for potential clients to ask for more information instead of just offering that information. And Meredith talks about this pacing of interviews too. Would you like to know more information? And so that seeped into all of my interaction and was much more effective. You sort of make yourself more desirable by not being too pushy. I think I've become a much better listener in my entire life as a result of practicing the informational interview process and listening for pain and just not talking and letting the person talk more.
It's such an art form. Like, it really is a dance. The only way we get through that dance is to fumble, just going through like little word changes, little confidence builders, like all of that then creates and suddenly clicks. And I love what you just articulated, because I could feel the tension back and forth. And then when it finally clicked, and then you can have all these different ripple effects. Now I have this Fathom recorder that I can use with different meetings, and it tells you how much your talk time is. It's really quite a great self-reflection tool, because we say like you want to be listening 90%, talking 10%. So of course, what a gift.
Someone on a podcast the other day said, wait, why am I talking? And I forgot about that.
I love that. Any other challenging moments that you would want to shed light on?
One of our clients who we love was really used to getting funding for the entire organization and not thinking about projects and how to justify the cost of what they were doing. And they just couldn't understand what we were asking them to quantify and break down the costs. And we were really beating our head against the wall. And we had an hour coaching session with Anna Nelson, even, who was incredibly helpful when we had this big project that was due. And all of a sudden, our client had this breakthrough and he understood and he was so grateful. And then he created all of these spreadsheets and he is on top of it so much now and has every type of project broken down by hour and each staff and what everything costs. And it's been amazing. And he has said to us, I'm so grateful to the two of you for helping me do this. He's like, it's a dark night of the soul for me, but we got to the other side and we're still having some challenges, but it's much better. And what was helpful is she helped us realize what we didn't have to worry about for a foundation or a corporate grant.
That's one of the cool parts about grant writing is we're constantly learning. And it sounds like you have a unicorn client. Like, how cool that he is growing and learning alongside you.
And I'm so lucky. I love all three of them. And I have to say that the cake pricing pivot that you all made was really advantageous for me because it's much more aligned to the way I prefer to work, because we really are part of the team and doing strategy development with them in a bigger picture way just helps us all get off on the right foot.
Let's move into what you're most proud of. Is there one thing specifically that you are most proud of in this journey?
I have officially launched my LLC, which is Riverside Grant Consulting. Never would have thought that I would have done this. I'm proud that Lori and I created this partnership. Lori is another collective member. We happened to meet and we just worked really well together. And it has not been stressful at all. And it has made this whole process possible from my perspective. I don't think I would have stuck with it if it weren't for her.
Obviously, we're in a partnership, and every day, I think Meredith or I will be like, how do people do this alone? It's so much less lonely. It just feels like you're not taking on the whole weight of the world or the whole risk of everything yourself.
Our proposal is about 75 to 90% finished. We get on Google Docs and we're on the phone and we are literally editing in real time together in a sentence or, oh, let's move it. And it's just a sort of seamless process. And I'll share one other thing. When we first started doing prospectuses, another one of her skills is design. So she's really great at design. Nice. When we felt like we had just nailed it, we came up with this acronym called ETA, which is elegant, tight, and articulate. So those were our 3 words. And so every now and then we'll just say, oh, ETA. We've gotten it to the place we wanted to.
I love that because values are powerful when they're actually used. And that is an amazing example of how we can use it. I think what I'm most proud of too is the fact that you weren't even sure if you were going to be an entrepreneur. You were giving this a shot. Who knows what'll happen? And in a year, you've earned $50K in revenue. You are in the mastermind now. You have this beautiful partnership. You have 3 retainer clients. You've had a tremendous amount of success in a very short amount of time.
It's been really surprising. And one of my clients I work with by myself, turns out it's not a nonprofit. She's a psychologist who has a podcast and creates a lot of content and is an author. And so I have a hybrid strategic development relationship with her where I helped her with funding, but now I'm helping her with strategy for her content and is using some of my old parenting content skills, which is nice. Does feel like an easier way to consult I can't believe she's paying me to do because it's easy.
That means you're totally in your zone of genius. Like, that is so exciting when it doesn't feel like work and you're like, I'm getting paid for this. Like, how freaking beautiful. You had a robust set of skills coming into this. And I'm curious if you could go back in time to like the person you were when you first joined, if there is advice that you would give that version of yourself around harnessing the skills that you had to propel you into this career.
I think at the beginning, I felt like it was a slow ramp up. I joined in November 22, and I didn't get certified until September 2023 because I
Yeah.
did a funding strategy and I wanted to present everything to be perfect before we submitted it. So it took a while, and then things took off. I did feel a little bit nervous faking it till I made it at the beginning. And yet I learned quickly that it was possible. I was so used to being good at what I had done that I didn't really talk about grant writing with anyone outside of my immediate circle until I really felt I had a better handle on what I was doing. Didn't launch the LLC until I thought our website really the way I wanted. And I had worked with a lot of people who were designers, and visuals are really important. So it had to look good. And I think it's okay that it's taken me a while to feel confident that we have a lot to offer. One of the podcasts I listen to now is the Heyday Fundraising podcast. And she was talking about expertise and influence, that's what we really bring to the table. And I have really come to appreciate that the storytelling skills that I used to use, I am using in a different way, but that I'm bringing something to the table that my clients didn't necessarily expect. And being able to frame a story and help them learn what to emphasize to make them more appealing. I didn't realize that those skills that I had used in a different way were going to be quite so specifically helpful.
You've been very intentional about your whole journey, and I really admire that. We'd love to know a little bit about the work you're doing. Do you want to share a fun fact or describe one of the projects that you're working on that could maybe teach us something?
Two of our clients work in the disability space. Their work is just fabulous. And one of the things that's been interesting is that there's really surprisingly little funding for disability oriented organizations, relatively speaking. We've learned that it's the people with disabilities are the largest minority group in the United States. 1 in 4 people are disabled in some way. And it's one of those groups that anyone can become a member of overnight. And maybe people don't like to think about it until it happens. That has been a challenge, an exciting challenge for us to describe that and help get potential funders excited about why they're doing is important. As I mentioned earlier, one of the organizations I work with is a music school for the blind. It's 110 years old, and it used to be part of a larger organization called the Lighthouse. And they were kicked out of the Lighthouse. Women who founded it were not going to let the school go, and they became their own 501c3. And the students are so talented, and it's incredible. You have to be musically literate in order to participate with your peers who are not sighted. One of their graduates is this jazz prodigy, Matthew Whitaker, who's now getting a lot of attention. So telling their story has been very rewarding.
Yes, it's beautiful, it's fun, it's graceful, it's rewarding, probably also very challenging. Music, education, and disabilities are all incredibly competitive and undervalued spaces. To combine that into one single entity, I can imagine brings its challenges.
It's been challenging for them to demonstrate the impact that they're really changing these people's lives. They're really teaching people how to be advocates for themselves in the world, and that they deserve the access to the same spaces that everyone else has.
Oh, that's so cool. Let's end with some rapid fire questions. What is one word to describe your dream lifestyle?
Energizing.
Next vacation spot.
We're thinking about Portugal.
Favorite podcast.
What I'm really excited about now is called Wiser Than Me with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and she interviews older women who are really smart. It's great.
What are you reading right now?
I just finished James by Percival Everett, and it's a retelling of Huckleberry Finn from Jim's perspective. It is brilliant. And then I just started reading Dean Blasey Ford's memoir.
Last TV show you binged.
Lessons in Chemistry I loved.
What is your superpower?
My real superpower is cutting down content into a set number of words and characters really quickly.
Well, Diane, it has been amazing to hear parts of your story. I am so thankful that you shared it with us, and I'm just really grateful for the impact that you're making, not only in the lives of the communities that you're serving, but also in your own life, your partner's life. It's really quite beautiful, and we're so grateful for you.
Thank you to you for all that you've done for us.
Yeah.